Hello and welcome to another episode of Cracking the Code. This time it's episode 10 and we've got an absolute cracker of a guest on as well. It's Mr. Sam North, also known as FootyAdventures. How are you today?
Good, mate. Thank you so much for having me on. Looking forward to chatting.
Absolutely no problem at all. I'll read out this small introduction when I done the research and crunched all the numbers. But huge shout out to our partners at Mystery Game Days. Mystery Game Days are a travel agent that provide football fans with a unique experience in Europe. This is how it works, step by step. So you can choose which package you can buy between the original, the Big Three and the Champions League Special. These vary between £299 to £350. In terms of creating your trip, select the package that suits you best, pick your travel weekend and the available dates, choosing your departure airport and accommodation preference. It also includes a 4-star option. And if you require an extra night stay, they will also hit you up with that. In terms of minor details, after you book, they will contact you for traveller's passport information, and as well as that, any special notes or requests that you need at this stage. So get ready for your reveal. This is the best part about it, is with this box, approximately 10 to 14 days before your travel, they'll send you a reveal pack in the post, finally revealing your mystery destination. Then that's all that's left to do is head to the airport. The company as well are at all protected, so tickets are completely authentic and it's a fantastic present for a loved one, family, friends, absolutely everyone. Even if you want a wee solo trip, would also be good as well. My mates and I have been to Budapest, Barcelona, Prague, and we've enjoyed the football experiences over there as well. So stay tuned at the end of this episode for the quick fire questions for our guests regarding places around Europe and football. Finally, their link and description will be in the box below and their tags, etc. will be all over our social media. So thanks again to Mystery Game Days for sponsoring this episode. Also known as FootyAdventures, across YouTube, TikTok, Twitter and Instagram, you built a community of over 280,000 football fans by travelling the world, showing the games and the most unique stories from different clubs and atmospheres. Your YouTube channel alone has passed 235,000 subscribers and generated more than 53 million views, with fans tuning in from non-league football fans to some of the wildest stadium experiences on the planet. So how does it make you feel when you sort of hear that?
It's gone well, mate, but I try not to dwell on the numbers too much. I just try and focus on the job in hand, and hopefully the numbers come, and then I can eventually be sat here in this lovely studio hearing you reel them off. But yeah, I try not to focus on that too much and just focus on making the best content possible, and then those numbers will happen because of the day-to-day. Hopefully. Yeah. That's the plan.
But it's pretty amazing as well. It was actually 4 years ago. I'll get this clip up for everyone to see.
I can't believe it's to the day as well.
Yeah,
People
that's
won't
actually
believe us, but it's actually to the
genuinely day. Bonkers. But bumped into it at Hampden during Scotland v Ukraine.
It's at half time.
Like so, yeah.
And there he is on the vlog 4 years ago to this day that we're recording this. And then
Scotland v Ukraine, saw you in the stands. I thought, FootyAdventures, no way.
What are we going to do in 4 years to celebrate?
I don't know, we'll need to see. Hopefully Scotland win the World Cup in 2030.
That'd be nice,
We've managed to crack the code with it.
Exactly, yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, so anyway, how's life been for you kind of at the moment? How's everything going?
Great, mate, yeah, can't complain. Really busy season in Scotland and an absolute crazy finish.
Yeah.
Just so many talking points, not just in the Premiership. It's important to touch on, like, all the leagues went to the final day, except for the Championship. It was like 1 week before St Johnstone wrapped it up. League One, League Two went down to the wire. Lowland League, Highland League, all the West of Scotland League and all the non-leagues that I follow. It was all just like really incredible and really intense towards the end.
Especially for you, it must have been so busy.
It was, but a lot of the games are all on the same time, like a lot of the playoffs and a lot of the title run-ins and trophy days. So the only thing that's frustrating is that like there's not more of a staggered scheduling, I suppose, around some of those like playoff games and stuff. But oh mate, like can't complain with some of the stories that were happening. Were just incredible. And obviously Hart's story, Tony Bloom, they were just taking it to the final day alone and splitting the Old Firm. Considering that Rangers spent 45 million for a team to come in and split the Old Firm in that context is just some achievement.
For it to go right down to the wire as well.
Last kick of the season, literally.
Yeah, literally was. And obviously you get the penalty decision on the Wednesday and you're kind of going, right, this is going to kind of dictate whatever happens on the final day. But the way it unravelled is still being talked about now, and this is like weeks later. Obviously by the time this comes out it will be, a couple of months, but And I'm sure people will still be talking about
People
it.
will be talking about it for years to come, I reckon, this season alone. Yeah, people will remember it.
So in terms of your kind of predictions for it, did you fancy Hearts to clinch it, or did you think
I always thought Celtic would do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people were saying Rangers. I just thought they didn't have enough men, leaders, proper like stand up and be counted players to get it over the line. And that proved, didn't it, when everyone started saying they're in the title race, the split comes, they lose the first game and then they go on to lose the next 3 as well. Kind of an unprecedented run for them. I could never see that happening. Yeah, the Hearts one, I would have been obviously happy for them to win it. But in my mind, Celtic were always going to be the ones who did it. Just having that know-how, even like we were talking off camera, the unsung heroes, the squad players like Anthony Ralston, who aren't going to kick up a stink if they're on the bench, but will come in and do a job in any position that you ask them to do, and they get it. They get Scottish football. I just think that they just had enough, and I always thought they'd do it.
It was the quality of players, like, you know, the rotational players that, as you say, you know, come on and do a job. Sriracha was fantastic on the final day as well. And you do feel for Hearts, because what a story it would have been, you know, the first team to go and win it since I think Aberdeen in the 80s as well. You know, under Sir Alex Ferguson. So it would have been an incredible achievement, but yeah, you do have to feel for them. But then credit to Celtic as well to kind of go that far. So, you know, in between the season finishing and then, you know, you get the World Cup as well. And when this comes out, the World Cup will be on in this kind of period of time. Is it a break for you? Do you take like a bit of a holiday, or?
I am at the moment. I try, it's hard, like so much of what I do is like reactive to what's going on and can be quite last minute by nature. So it's actually really hard to switch off sometimes. But yeah, once the season finished, I just kind of made an agreement in my mind that I'll like have a couple of weeks off. I'm doing quite a lot around the World Cup as well. So yeah, just I needed it. And Scotland are playing Curaçao a week after the Scottish Cup final. So that would have already been done once this is out. But it's just like there's no pre-season anymore. I don't remember when you were a kid, like the season had finished, you wouldn't hear from your club or from football teams for like at least a month or 6 weeks.
Yeah, literally like 3 or 4 weeks easily.
Whereas now already the fixtures for the League Cup group stage have come out.
Yeah.
The groups have been drawn like the other day for next season. I'm already buzzing for like Ross County Dundee.
Yeah.
Even though the World Cup is on, like, I can't wait for like, you know.
Yeah, because again, and that's been something that you've been so brilliant at as well, as showcasing like these other games that are going on. Yes, eyes are going to be on the World Cup and things going on, and like even last year with the Club World Cup, but it's more like, nah, let's look at, you know, the group stage games and, you know, the Premier Sports Cup as well, which is fantastic. So kind of before we start everything, we'll start from the very beginning. You know, how was your upbringing? Where did it all start? What was Sam North doing?
So I grew up in a typical little English town down south, and just grew up watching Premier League football. Like all my little mates are obsessed with just like collecting stickers and watching football on TV. I grew up in what I call the golden triangle of boring football clubs. Really? I was like slap banging between Wycombe Wanderers, Oxford United and MK Dons, which are like the 3 clubs that have won very little. Oxford United won the League Cup in the 80s, but the Heysel disaster and the banning of English clubs for 6 years meant they couldn't play in Europe, although they would have qualified for it if it wasn't for the ban. Wycombe have not amounted to much apart from getting to the Championship. MK Dons are probably one of the most hated clubs in all of England due to the Wimbledon factor and stuff. So I grew up around there, loved watching football, just grow up watching it, don't you, in this country, whether you're from down south or up north or Scotland or wherever. So yeah, just grew up loving the game and never would have envisaged coming and live in Scotland, but absolutely love it.
Did you play at all when you were younger?
I played up until I started working, so I just played for local youth team and then for school and stuff, but never good enough, never big enough, strong enough, quick enough to amount to anything anywhere near professional level. But loved to just
a general football fan, enjoying it. And did you ever have any kind of inclination when you're going up sort of through school in terms of like what was your kind of path at that time in terms of what you're wanting to go into for your career?
I suppose I didn't quite know. I did work in marketing. So I left school at 17, went into a marketing job in London at 17, whereas most of the people in there were the youngest, like 23, 22 coming out of uni. So I was by far the youngest one, but a lot of the people there like took me under their wing. So I just started working. I kind of fell into that. A family friend worked at the company, got me a bit of work experience. Off the back of that, I got a job, and it was all just like I fell into stuff. So I never really, when I was younger, had a plan. I don't know if you were the same. I don't know if too many people have those dreams as a child. I want to do this, and they go on to do that as you get older. Obviously, your interests change and stuff.
Yeah, and things change as well. And obviously through that kind of marketing experience, that's fed quite well into what you're doing now. But what kind of part of the marketing side of it did you quite like?
So yeah, I suppose there's a lot of transferable skills into like what I do now. But yeah, the main thing of what I do now is like kind of so much more creative than what I did before. What I did before was book the ad space. So the ads were already created.
Right.
The campaigns, the clients knew what they wanted to do. It was our job to go and find the right TV stations, magazines that had the right audience and like place those ads there and negotiate the rates and stuff. So it was literally like the people in the job that I did, I hope they wouldn't mind me saying this, but I was maybe a little bit like that. It's like people who had maybe high potential to do something creative kind of fell into that line of marketing. It was like kind of the last part of the marketing.
Yeah, I get you.
Funnily in a way, it's like everything was done. The creative stuff was done. It was our job to just go and put the ads places, which was kind of tedious day to day.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff you did outside come Thursday afternoon, it was a bit of a write-off most of the time. So it was fun. And
well, you go enjoy yourself at the weekend?
I mean, it was wild, yeah. Some of the stories maybe aren't appropriate for today.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do like a Patreon version.
Do a raw version, crack the code raw.
Yeah.
We can hear those stories. But yeah, like we'd go and kind of enjoy that lifestyle. And then when was it kind of get to a stage after that kind of process that you kind of thought, as you said, maybe there's something a bit more beyond here that I can try and tackle and get away from this?
Yeah, I loved it when I was younger, and I don't want to sound like I don't appreciate the companies that I worked for because they were great, and I met some great people who I still keep in touch with now, obviously. But it was probably like a few years in, I just realised I went from a few different companies and realised it was just maybe the industry and not the companies themselves, where I was like maybe not happy in. I suppose there was a lot of time in like Excel spreadsheets when you think you're working in market. It feels like a creative thing.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of data to sift through and stuff. And yeah, after a couple of years, I probably thought I need to start doing other things. I did have a few little side hustles and stuff that never came to anything. So I was always looking for something.
What were they like?
Just like little kind of marketing jobs on the side, copywriting jobs for like email lists and stuff that I'd try and source, but it never amounted to anything too big. But it was just, I was always like, it doesn't matter if stuff fails. I'm just going to try stuff and see if you throw enough shit at it, we'll see what sticks.
Well, yeah, completely. And look at how that's like ultimately came now to fruition with that motivation and sticking in at it. So, you know, kind of after you were a bit bored and didn't want to do that anymore, how did the idea come around that why don't we maybe start YouTube and start covering games?
So yeah, I was living in Australia at the time. So my job allowed me to work in London, and then I was lucky enough to go and do the same kind of work in Sydney. But then I knew my time was coming to an end there, and I didn't want to come back to London and do the same old thing that I was doing, because like, yeah, you can do it back home in the UK, do it in Australia. At least at the end of the day, you can go down to the beach afterwards.
Yeah,
like have the lifestyle outside of work. Whereas like coming back to the UK, having seen that lifestyle, I was like, oh no, I can't just come back. So yeah, like I said, I was always like trying things. And then one day I came across so I didn't watch a lot of football YouTube, but weirdly I don't watch a lot of football.
So was it also the marketing, was that like your job in Australia? Was that what you were doing?
Similar to what I was doing in London, I was doing over there. And like I say, just the lifestyle was better there. But I was watching, and I still watch a lot of travel vlogs now. I watch more travel YouTube and stuff than I do football YouTube, although I'm in the space. I don't always watch a massive amount of football stuff, which is weird. I watch highlights, but and maybe podcasts and stuff, but less like vlogs and stuff. Anyway, I was watching a travel YouTuber that I was watching at the time, and he just did like a sit down video where he ran through like how he started, how he made money, like just the process. And I was like, oh, that could be something I could try for football. And then, because again, I didn't watch football YouTube then. I didn't really know it was a thing. Maybe it wasn't that big. It wasn't as saturated as everything kind of is now, not just the football niche. But yeah, it was a bit of a light bulb moment and then knew my time in Australia was coming to an end. So I made a few videos there, traveled my way back during COVID through Asia and Europe, and then came back to Scotland. Long story short, my partner, she's Scottish. We met in Australia. We lived out there. We came back to the UK. We came back to the UK for 3 weeks during COVID because we were in Budapest as the world was shutting down. It was meant to be for 3 weeks because the initial government lockdown was just to flatten the curve.
Right, okay.
If you remember that, it was like...
I don't think so,
a spike in cases. We were going to flatten the curve and then we were going to go back to normal.
Ah, right, okay, yeah.
And here I am 7 years later chatting to you in this podcast studio in Glasgow.
Unbelievable.
So
even like I've actually got it noted here as well. It was 12k views that video. It was the Central Coast Mariners versus the Newcastle Jets in Australia. Was your first ever video, And we spoke about it off camera as well, but see, obviously that's at 12K now, and we say that's really good views, like that's unreal. But you said the process when you first launched it was a bit slow, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, as is the case of anything, like you need to, I guess, have like a snowball effect when it comes to social media. But it took me like 3 weeks to edit that video alone. Whereas now I can just like bash them out in a day, potentially, like a few hours.
So you kind of learning as you were going.
Learning as I was going. But I remember getting home from that vlog, I like being so excited that I'd filmed it and got back to edit it and stuff. I'd bought the cameras, I'd bought the laptop, I'd bought the Adobe editing software, put thousands into it. I'd already handed my notice in, was due to leave Australia within like the next couple months. So I'd like completely upended my life to do this. I transferred the files onto my laptop, started like looking at myself speaking and was like, I can't do this.
Really?
I just had like this gut feeling. I was like, oh, like I was looking at myself like so embarrassed. Like what are people going to think? Like just couldn't.
Kind of that, all those kind of mental obstacles just come straight into your head.
And then I was like, I knew I had to like just kind of push through it. But in the first thought I had when I had those negative feelings was like, oh, it's fine. Like when I go back to London, worst that can happen is I've just got like a laptop and a camera. I'll just go back to my old job. But the whole point was like to do something else and like to be the master of my own destiny in a way.
How did you like tackle those thoughts in that regard in terms of?
I just had to do it. I just feel like I just had to, it's just like push through the embarrassment of doing it and just hope that.
Because at the time as well, it was, I think 6 years ago was the first video you uploaded, and like 6 years ago, if I even look back at YouTube then, you know, in terms of, I think it must have been about 16 or 17 at the time, and there was no real kind of YouTube football vloggers at all, really. There was like Thogden was there and stuff, and
I know Ellis of Away Days was one of the early ones as well, but it wasn't like as it wasn't an industry around it. Like
it wasn't as prominent, whereas now. And credit to yourself, probably led as being an inspiration in that regard, that, you know, other people see what you're doing and go, oh, that looks great. Let's, you know,
but I was only ever inspired by the travel YouTuber. So Los LeBlanc is the name of the channel.
Is it? Yeah.
It's a Canadian guy who was like just going around Southeast Asia and other places around the world at that stage. And so I was inspired by him. So as much as maybe some people have been inspired by me, like there's always somebody that you can look up to and be like, that was the person that started off for me or whatever. Yeah.
So then you said you went back to London. Was it with your partner after?
No, straight to Scotland.
Straight to Scotland. So why Scotland ultimately?
Just because we didn't have anywhere to live and we just went to stay with her sister for a few weeks. Yeah. And then, like I say, it's just turned into years.
That's amazing.
Not still with her, by the way. Not still sponging off her sister. Yeah. We've got our own place now. But never. It was always like when we came back from living away, it was always, are we going to live in England or Scotland or maybe somewhere I'm from down south, she's from Scotland, maybe Manchester in between. We were never 100% we're going to Scotland, but in the end, like during COVID, I was like, oh, this is awful, I'm stuck here. I'd been living in Australia for like 4 years in the sun. I'm now in lockdown in Scotland. I can't leave a 5 mile radius for months on end. Don't have my own place, don't have my own freedom. It was terrible. But now looking back, it was like one of the best things ever. It's given me this opportunity in Scotland that I love, and I love meeting people. I love the Scottish people. Like even before I'd moved here and before I'd met her, a lot of the mates that I'd met traveling were Scottish, and I just seemed to enjoy
that kind of personality
and stuff. Yeah, and I'm sure like the ginger beard, like there's got to be some Scottish DNA in me. I don't know how far back.
For sure. And that ever I thought years ago that, well, even just for Scotland, have you ever like visited Scotland previously and quite liked the place? And then when it came to moving, was it all quite new?
Pretty. I'd never set foot here apart from just literally visiting for a day or two with my missus, but no, really, like, had never come. I think when we lived in Australia, we did come back for a bit to visit family, but I'd never been here for any proper length of time.
It's unbelievable, like how that
as a kid,
unfolds now into all of it. So then from starting the vlogs and then obviously all the moving process, you had lockdown, which obviously for Scottish football was not great because no fans could go in. You couldn't, do the job that you wanted to do. But then after, how did you discover that niche of going, see the lower leagues in Scotland? Let's give them a What was it that struck you that you thought this needs more eyes looking at it?
I was never like, oh, I'm just going to cover the big teams. Like even when I was like away and stuff during that time before lockdowns and things, like I was still covering like random teams and like I wasn't just like, oh, I'm just going to do the big ones or whatever. But I suppose like, my hand was forced a little bit during the pandemic. Like I couldn't just buy a ticket at a big club and go to the game. Because like you say, there was either no games on or there was no fans and you couldn't actually go along. So it was more, I got invited I was doing videos where I was just visiting stadiums from the outside during different bits of lockdown. You remember, like, there was bits where they opened it up and stuff. And I was visiting. I did a video where I did agree that I was going to do a series where I was going to visit all the 42, even just from the outside.
Yeah.
And I was doing a video where I was like ticking off 4 in a day. It was like 4 that I'd never been to. It was Broadwood, where Clyde was still playing, Alloa, Recreation Park, Stenhousemuir, Ockleview, and Stirling Albion, Fourth Bank. And the gates are open at Stenny. And there was games going on at the time behind closed doors with no fans for lower league, just to League 2. Non-leagues weren't on, I don't think. Oh no, they would have been.
I think
they were. Lower league was on, but then there was times where that went away, so it's confusing to look back on now. Actually,
there were so many different hurdles and stuff.
Mate, crazy. But I remember just being at Stenhousemuir, the gates were open, there was nobody there. I noticed the press box and was like, like, how amazing would it be if I got invited? And then I got a message from the chairman.
Nice.
He invited me down for a game a few weeks later, behind closed doors, Stenhousemuir v Edinburgh City.
Yeah, and
then, like a week after that, I got an invite to Cumbernauld Colts Kelty. Then I got an invite to Gala Ferrydean Rovers v Kelty. That was Lowland League. And then, like I say, Kelty were the away side twice. They noticed that I was there. I got a DM from them to come to a game. Went to see them play Gretna, and it was all behind closed doors. Couldn't chat to any fans and stuff. And now I absolutely hate making videos where it's just me.
Yeah,
I'd hate to think that someone's clicked on a video and I've gone to a club and I've not even interacted with the fan or somebody who gets it more than what I do. But back then I didn't really have a choice. I didn't really get it. I thought it was all about me and my journey and my perspective on it, which I suppose it is a little bit.
You kind of prefer to share the experience with others as well.
The more I've got into it, the more I've realised it's less about me and more about the people, and it's all kind of been one big.
It's that whole snowball effect as well. That as soon as you get 1 or 2, boom, there's 3, 4, 5.
Of course,
6,
Once I got the Stenny
going.
game, and then there was more and more and more, and then it just gave me the motivation to, if I can get a behind closed doors press pass at Albion Rovers v Edinburgh City in the middle of winter during COVID, then once things open up, if I get enough views, maybe I'll go League 1, Championship, Premiership. And then you never know where it could take you.
That's pretty amazing, actually, as well. It's kind of because it's you shot your shot in that way of going, I'm going to try and get it, even though you're not allowed to get in. And then from then on in, it's that butterfly effect and it just keeps on going.
And there was a little bit of, because football YouTube, again, when I started, wasn't as prominent, like you say, as maybe it is now. And there was a little bit of, who's this guy? Why is he allowed to go to games that the fans aren't? And I got that as well. I thought some of the lockdowns
was
were
there comments like that? Yeah.
Yeah, there was a few,
was there? Yeah.
But I obviously wasn't well known. I wasn't doing it as professionally as what I am now. But yeah, I totally understand that. I thought that the lockdowns at some stage were way too over the top, and you could have lived your life a lot more than what we were allowed to. That's for certain. But that
gives that entertainment value as well. That then if you can go and create videos during lockdown and upload them, that means that fans that can't go to the ground can watch your videos and be like, that's...
Yeah, and there was a lot of that as well, don't get me wrong. There was loads of people who appreciated it, but I understand the people that were frustrated that they were locked out, yet this little English lad can rock up with a GoPro and get in. But nowadays, people know what I'm doing and know what I'm there for and appreciate it.
So following all of that, when you first sort of launched it and this started to become a bit of a routine where you're going to, Scottish lower league games and you're giving them a platform to be watched. Did you have any kind of aims at the time set out in terms of what you wanted to hit numbers wise, or what kind of content you wanted to create?
I suppose you always want to hit the 100K, get the plaque and all that, get the silver play button, and 1 million one day would be amazing. That's a long way off, obviously, but no, I don't know. I just wanted to be creative first and foremost and do it as a job. That was always the number one thing, was do YouTube as a job. People ask me would you want to get a job doing this or a job doing that? You get hired by them. And I've had freelance work with Sky and Premier Sports and BBC and stuff, and it's been great. But for me, the number one thing is still just to be YouTube, have that creative outlet and be able to make videos and the stories that I want to make, and not be told, right, you're going down this route here today, can you do this narrative and stuff? And
because you can dictate what you want to do.
Exactly, yeah, and you can make videos when you want and be, the master of my own world, basically.
Yeah, so you touched on it there, see when you got that plaque through for 100K, so I think right now, you're sitting on over 200,000 subscribers. When you got that through, how surreal a moment was that?
It was nice, mate. Yeah, I think it took about 2.5 to 3 years for me to get it, and I never went to university. Like I said, I started working at 17, then I went travelling, bought a one-way ticket to Bangkok when I was 20, after working in London for a good few years, and then I just have sort of been on that journey ever since, honestly. I've just wanted to always travel and have a job that would allow me to do that. But yeah, when I got the plaque through, it was a 2.5 to 3 year process for getting that. And I thought that's almost like my degree. Yeah. I didn't have a degree, I didn't go to university, but that's kind of about the time, about 3 years. and I've got like a physical thing that I work towards, and now I can like kick on and make a proper career out of it. Not that I wasn't doing it as a job when I was getting the 100K, but I still felt like a novice. And I still do treat myself as a bit of a novice now and a bit of a learner still, which I think helps in improving. I don't want to be in a position where I'm like, right, that's me done now.
Yeah, you want to keep growing it.
Exactly. So, but that's a great moment.
Yeah, and even as well, when you say like, you do get the university certificates, the diplomas and frames and stuff, see that in itself, that's all purely you, and the 100,000, that's 100,000 people that are subscribed to stuff that you're creating that enjoy it. If anything, that probably means more than getting a degree in that regard.
I suppose so, yeah. And I'm not sure how, degrees and stuff these days, like obviously they're great for connecting and for, and I'm probably a lot more raw in what I do, and I don't know the ins and outs of media and stuff. So for people that are doing fair play 100%, I wish them all well, and I hope they can go on to do something and use it for what they want to. But at the same time, the practical on this job learning like is just everything. Like I just feel like it's such an important part of it. For people that are doing degrees, I want them to do well with it, and I want them to get everything they can out of it. But I also want them to know that like there are opportunities out there where you can go and grab stuff by the balls and go and do it yourself.
Completely,
go and grab life, and don't just get the degree and hope that one day someone will give you a job and that will give you security, which is a nice feeling, obviously. But you can go and get so much more if you go out there and pursue things yourself.
And also you had to, as you say, like earlier on, you had to get yourself over that barrier to be like, right, it doesn't matter what other people think, I'm going to be tunnel visioned with it and go and do it. And here you are now. So in terms of that as well, in the industry that you're now in, what are kind of like struggles that people don't see, behind the scenes that you've had to deal with in the past regarding your channel?
There's a lot, even just like the anxiety of like people knowing who you are everywhere you go now is like a weird thing, because I still feel like the same geezer who was just like going to London on the train and like doing my marketing.
Getting on it 4 days a week after it was over.
3.5 day work week. But no, I suppose, just that's kind of one. But I love that people are so nice and they appreciate it, of course. But I suppose that there is like that bit of like, like you're going somewhere and like people are going to know who you are and stuff. There is that, like, for the most part, 100% people are great, but you never know like what people's motives are when they come up to you. You don't know who they are. Yeah. They know who you are. It's like a weird feeling. There's that, I suppose. But for the most part, I absolutely love it and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But there are definitely parts of the industry that, people, I suppose it's the same in any business, trying to get as much out of what they can for as little as possible, but you just kind of have to know your worth and try and, just do the best for you, but also be respectful and know what people want and what clients want. But just trying to stay creative is probably the hardest part, and trying to come up with unique ideas in a world where everything is so saturated. Yeah. And there are so many great content creators out there and so many different niches, not just online, but on radio, on TV, on everything that you're competing for attention on. Just trying to stay creative and trying to come up with unique ideas that haven't been done is probably the hardest part. But I feel like I'm on a good roll with that. But sometimes when you do step off and have a break like now, it is hard to get back on. Mm-hmm. But I do know that sometimes I do need it, and I do come back so much more refreshed, and it does make a difference. Yeah, it's amazing, like your values with that as well. You're just the same guy. It's just, it's taken off and you get recognition and people know. I try and, like you say, with the numbers, like 53 million views just on YouTube alone is amazing. I didn't realise it had gone over 50 million, I don't think. I hadn't checked for a while. Yeah. Which is great, but then I don't want to change from the guy that I was, because then like people might stop watching if you become too big for your boots, especially in Scotland. I feel like you can't get away with it as much, which I was like talking about. Scotland are brilliant for that. They always bring you back down to earth, and maybe that, can sometimes have an impact on our football in that regard. If someone's ever, far too good or something like that, it's like, right, well... So I thought the Lennon Miller stuff was a bit harsh for the press, like going after him when he said he wanted to be the best player. I don't think there's anything wrong with what Lennon said. It's because it's like usually Scottish players aren't coming out and saying that. See Lennon Miller having that ambition to say that and say, I want to play in Champions League finals when I'm older. That's the mentality that needs to be set across. And I'm sure Robbo had that mentality when he was at Queen's Park, that he could still go on and make a success of himself. And look what he's done. He's won everything with Liverpool and he's taken Scotland to a World Cup. But I, like I say, just going back to meeting people when I was travelling who were Scottish, I just love that honesty. The honesty and just like the piss taking banter and stuff. Like, it's so good. Which is why Scotland is maybe the perfect place for me to be in this niche, because I'm English, so I can go to all the different clubs. I don't have an affiliation to anyone, which has obviously helped.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that if you were Scottish and you had a club that you supported,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose, as much. But then just being here and like feeling the love of everybody who's Scottish, but then knowing that you can't go and get too ahead of your station because people will recognise and be like, no, come on.
Yeah,
live in the real world.
Kind of rein it back in a bit.
Yeah.
But that's been something that you've been fantastic at as well, as we touched on earlier on, is connecting with these people all through the levels of Scottish football and giving them their chance as well for their club to be seen or interview and understand more about the different clubs. So what kind of fascinated you as well about the lower leagues of Scotland, you know, like the juniors and the Lowlands League, that you thought, yeah, this kind of needs a platform?
It was interesting because when I moved to Scotland, it was early 2020, which is when a big restructuring happened when the West of Scotland League actually came in and the juniors kind of almost ended. It was the worst time for it to happen because it was during the pandemic that the new league was supposed to start, but we're now a few years on and it has all rejigged a little bit. So it's really interesting from that standpoint. At the moment I came was kind of like the old history of the juniors. It kind of just ended as I came.
Yeah.
And the new history of it becoming a part of the whole Scottish football ecosystem was kind of just beginning with Clydebank. I think were the first ones to do it. They're an ex-league club, of course, who had to start from the lower divisions after becoming a Phoenix club and stuff. But just going along and meeting the people and seeing the clubs in the towns, like everybody knows what it's like to go to a game in a top league of any country. You buy your ticket, you turn up, the food's probably going to be generic, made in some big factory
and it's
somewhere.
like triple the price of what it would be. Yeah.
Whereas when you go to a lower league ground, you don't know what the town is going to be like or village when you get there. You don't know what the food's going to be like. You don't know what the people's going to be like. You don't know what stadium, like what state it's going to be in. But that's just like some of the beauty. Like you go to all like Kilburney Ladeside to Turriff United up in the Highlands. Like they're all different. Whereas there's obviously differences in the professional teams, but it's obviously like you sit in your one seat, you're more of a customer at the big games, whereas like they appreciate you being there so much at the smaller ones. And I don't think I'd have the success with the bigger videos if I didn't have the kind of core just love for the game of all levels, like underpinning it all.
And even as well for the juniors and from things that you see kind of across the board as well, like what are some things that you see at these clubs that, you know, Scotland offers that you go, wow, like this deserves more recognition?
Just the people that are there like have such a great love for the club, but they're also just like salt of the earth, down to like the most down to earth people that you'll ever meet. Because like it's a thankless task mowing the lawn, mowing the grass at a non-league side for 40 years or for 20. Say you retire at 60 or whatever back in the day, and now you're like an 80-year-old guy and you've been like volunteering for decades.
Yeah,
like nobody's giving you a medal for that at the end of the day. Nobody's like. You're not going to Hampden Park at the end of it for a cup final, for example. Like you're not even reaching the upper echelons of Scottish football at all. Like it's just like
the kind of core there that run it are
such
so
a commendable
important
thing. It's like such a inspirational thing to see these guys like doing it just because it's like part of their local community and they want to be a part of something. So take the football away, like there might not be that sense of community in those places. So I guess like that's probably the main thing. But also just the physical nature of the stadiums is fascinating. Like you go into the little boardrooms, they might have like all the pennants of the teams they played against, and you like look at the ones that you've seen before and that you visited, and they might have like old pictures of old trophies, or like you just don't know what you're going to see.
And it's so unique as well in that regard for each place because of how much it means for these people. Is there anything that you kind of look at and go off, there could be maybe something implemented in the juniors that could maybe improve, I don't know, whether it's the pathway for players or facilities or anything that you look at and go, maybe that could do with a little bit more work?
Well, I suppose you'll know from playing at that level, there's no referees below the sixth. There's no assistant referees below the 6th tier in Scotland. So you go to a game in the West of Scotland League First Division, which is 7th tier. There'll be no linos, so the referee's in the middle of the pitch having to guess offsides. There's a committee member from each team on the touchline with a flag, but they don't do offsides. They just stand on the touchline. If the ball goes out, they put the flag up, and the ref's got to decide what way the throwing goes and stuff. So I suppose trying to get young referees, but then you look at like how much referees are slated. But I think this is from the top of the game, which would help. What I'm saying here about the assistant refs is make the referees full time. Yeah, you've got an Old Firm derby. You've got 22 of the best played and the highest level footballers in modern Scottish football history on that pitch, and there's a part-time referee. Imagine you took a part-time non-league player and put him in an Old Firm derby at centre-back or up front, and he had a stinker. All the fans would be like, oh, he's part-time, like, get him out and get someone else in. How come the referees have got to teach at school during the day and then referee at night, or be a salesman and then go, I just don't. They pay millions of pounds potentially, I think, for VAR cameras and all the technology. Yet the referees are still part-time. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily a money thing. So I know they do make good money off the games when they get them. But it's more like the training, like the PGMOL down in England. The referees get together. They're professional referees. They train together. They get together. They talk about scenarios. Whereas that doesn't happen up here. I go to a local gym in East Kilbride, and there's a referee in there who, he's getting a little bit older now. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. But he's doing like more lower league games, like assistant refereeing, but he sometimes does like high level. But he does his own fitness for it. Like, how is there not a way? Maybe there is some subsidised fitness for them, but I don't know if there is. For me, one of the biggest things would be, making the referees full-time at the top, and hopefully that filters down so that there's more young people wanting to get into refereeing. Yeah. Because maybe it's just a numbers thing that they can't get 2 more officials at the 7th tier to go and do that. Yeah. Maybe that's a long-winded answer for like one.
Well, to be honest, that's a fantastic point. You know, I actually never really thought about it that way. I mean, I did refereeing in school in 6th year, and it was a class. Don't get me wrong. I think, and hopefully my teacher at the time, Mr. McDonald, doesn't mind me saying this, but I think a lot of us picked that because you could play football during the classes. So it was like not particularly for the refereeing, but more to enjoy playing the football. But at the same time, you know, we had the multiple choice tests that we had to sit for the laws of the game, and you went through it all. And it was very interesting, the things that they were saying. And it has helped now when you see decisions, you know, in games that you go, like, even though that's harsh, for example, you talk about the Motherwell decision with the handball. Yeah, his hand's like in an unnatural position. He's obviously not meaning to have his hand in and headed it, but there's ball to hand contact at the end of the day. So through the laws of the game, it's a penalty. And I think obviously the magnitude of the decision was such a huge talking point.
The timing of it as well.
Exactly, the timing. But as you say, actually going through it was really interesting. But because of all the backlash and stuff, there's a bit of a turn off for people doing it. Imagine
having that backlash and you're that referee, or any referee that gets any backlash in Scotland. It's very intense, especially nowadays. He had police protection at his house for a day or two, did he not, I think?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But imagine you were just a full-time referee and that happened. At least you could just focus on how to improve as a referee. He'd have had to go back to work the next day. Yeah.
So is that the case in terms of like during the week? Because in fact...
Yeah, the refs are part-time. Like they've got regular jobs outside of it. I don't know if some of them are maybe well off enough to just focus on the refereeing. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe that's just like a small number of them that are able just to focus on that. But no, for the most part, they're part-time, and I just don't get why.
It's a fantastic point as well. And even like in terms of facilities and what you see kind of down the lower leagues, do you think, because it gets talked about quite a lot, do you think there could be any improvement in that regard, or is that just purely financial?
I think so, yeah. But again, like I say, it costs money, doesn't it, to improve all the facilities. But I don't think you'd want to improve them to what modern stadiums are actually changed to, because they're so soulless. And as if like in this day and age, you can't at least build a modern stadium with like an old brick, like some like local quarried brick, just as like a centerpiece. I know everything's like cost these days, and they make them as cheap as possible. But as if there's not one lasting something or other that could be there for 100 years, that even if all the steel crumbled around it, there'd still be like something unique about the touches of it. So
it's got the character of each club is kind of in its infrastructure.
You could improve the facilities, but I think some of the facilities are amazing. Like I go to non-league grounds in other countries like the Netherlands and stuff. They've got like new modern facilities with astroturfs, and they're open for the public to use a lot of the time. So public can just go in there and use it and run around there and train and use the goals.
And it encourages younger players as well to go and play football as well.
They're a bit more soulless compared to what we've got here. Like you turn up to any like West of Scotland League club, or like Pumpherston in the East of Scotland League just came to my head. Like they're so ramshackle, but so beautiful in their own little unique way. So yeah, there's definitely like you could improve the changing rooms, and the SFA have the Pitch and In campaign. I believe that money comes from qualifying for tournaments, which then gets distributed to lower league clubs. So I was recently at EKYM, who are in West of Scotland League Division 4.
Saw that video, that was very good actually.
And they've had a lot of investment from the SFA Pitching In Fund, so they will be improving their changing rooms and stuff, which is great, and that definitely needs to happen. But I hope that enough clubs don't lose like the soul of what Scottish football is.
Yeah, completely. And you've covered a lot of games in it as well. I wanted to find out kind of what your kind of personal thoughts were on it. See the pyramid system. You've documented East Kilbride as well, and the amount of games they had to play in relegation playoffs. Do you think that's something that should be eradicated so that people that win it can just go straight up, and then if people lose it, they just go straight down? Because you see in England, obviously down south, being involved in that area, that that's how it is down there, and they've got bigger leagues.
It's a huge talking point at the moment in England because there's the 3-up campaign.
Yeah,
that they've had. There was a match day towards the end of last season in the National League where all the games kicked off at 3 minutes past 3.
Right.
Because there's currently 2 spots, one automatic. Because remember, this year, the 2 teams that finished, I think last year as well, they finished on like 105 points and 106 points. But there's obviously the top team goes up, but then there's a big playoff for the second team to go up. And they're saying there should be more from the EFL out of it. Because I think... with the exception of maybe one team this year, the top 8 or 9 in the National League, the 5th tier non-league, highest non-league in England, were big ex-football league clubs like Rochdale and York, who eventually went up. York won it, Rochdale in the playoffs, but then there's also like Southend. I don't know if they come back up. But anyway, there's bigger clubs from the Football League who are now there.
Yeah.
That there's nothing between the National League and League Two.
Kind of same as like Scotland as well. Like seeing the Championship and the Cups, like we had Robbie Fraser on a couple of episodes, and that Dunfermline team, beat Aberdeen and Hibs and.
But even if you look at teams
Falkirk
like lower end League One, Kelty got relegated this year.
Mm-hmm.
Are you telling me that like Auckland, Talbot wouldn't give them a really good game, even though they're like 2 or 3 divisions below them? There's not a lot between the clubs, so I think letting it breathe would be good. It's the SPFL clubs who need to vote for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole turkeys don't vote for Christmas. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Mate, if it wasn't for Christmas, turkeys would be irrelevant. So
it's a great point, genuinely.
Do you know what I mean?
And in that sense, you reckon just like if we could make the leagues better and just get rid of this playoff stuff, that it would be better for up and down.
You can still have some playoffs which keep it interesting, but for the teams that aren't maybe champions or whatever. But if you look at Albion Rovers, Cowden Beef, Berwick, the teams that have been relegated have got nowhere near coming back. Brechin kind of have, because they went to the Highland League, which was maybe a bit of an easier league to win than what the Lowland League is for those other teams. But they lost the league 3 years in a row on goal difference, Brechin. So they could have gone into the playoffs still, but there's no guarantee of promotion then. But it just shows how good the quality is below the SPFL. And say you're an SPFL team today and you've got the choice to vote on it and you vote to keep it closed, but next season you have a really bad season, you have an injury crisis right towards the end of the season, you finish bottom, you can't scramble a decent team together for the playoffs and you lose, or it's a bad refereeing decision or a bad red card and the game turns and you go down based on that one decision, you know that your chances of coming back are so much harder than if you'd have just voted for it to be opened up and there was proper promotion and relegation in and out of it. Then it'd be easier for the clubs who go down. It wouldn't be as existential for them. It wouldn't be as threatening to their actual existence.
And you see it as well firsthand in that regard, that how much it means to them too, and how much those small, just rewards for, staying up or whatever it is, means to them as players. So,
and I think for me as well, that I think the leagues are maybe too small in the SPFL, 10 teams per league in the Championship League 1, League 2. I know the Prem's 12 and then it splits, but there's no split in the Championship League 1 and League 2. So everybody plays each other 4 times, so twice home and away.
Yeah.
Plus then if you get them in the playoffs, that's 6 times in the league. Imagine you draw them in a cup or 2 as well. That's like 7, 8, 9 games. You get SPFL Trust Trophy as well. You could play the same team 8 times in a season. If you have 40 games, it's almost a quarter of your season against just one team.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And even as well, that's a big talking point from people from the outside that are looking in at Scottish football going, oh, how can you say that Celtic Rangers is the biggest derby in the world when they play each other like 6 times a season? Whereas
I can understand why they'd want that game to be played so much, but it's like I'd maybe have the leagues a bit bigger, maybe play each other in the Prem 3 times a year, but then have some sort of like community shield at the start of the season like they do in England, where it's pretty much most of the time going to be Celtic v Rangers, to be honest.
Yeah. But it gives other teams an opportunity, even like you see in the League Cup stuff, and even in the Scottish Cup as well. Talbot playing Celtic, then you get Darvo and Aberdeen, and even that's an even bigger gap between the Premiership teams playing against the juniors. And we had Lee Sharp on as well earlier on, who's on the receiving end of the Darvo defeat when he was with Aberdeen with Jim Goodwin.
Of course,
and he said, a point on it, that in the juniors there's such a great pocket of players there that just fall through the net due to the kind of academy systems.
It's true, yeah.
And the gap isn't even that.
And there's good budgets in those leagues as well. So Darvel that season, again, it comes back to what we were saying then about would Talbot give Kelty a game? Darvel probably would have been all right in League One that year with their budget and the quality of their players. So Aberdeen losing that game on paper to a 6th tier team looks mental, and it I was there as well. The video did well, and I remember the next day I was going to Denmark to film a video, and I was listening to the radio on the way there. Ali McCoist was phoning in, and it was like a big global story. It was going around like Darvel had beaten Aberdeen. Who the hell are Darvel? But in reality, if you look at it in the context, Darvel at that point in time, they've now struggled a little bit the last couple of years. But at that point in time, they were probably as good as a League One team. They had a lot of ex-league players in their team as well, and players who have then gone on to do really well in the leagues as well. So if Aberdeen got knocked out like they did against Dunfermline this year, they're a championship team, so Dunfermline are better than Darvel. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's like the different leagues, and it's like just depending on where these clubs are in league matters. Like that's obviously what they're competing against more often. But when you have the dark horses coming in, the gap is not that big in Scotland. It's a small place ultimately. People are, played at these levels and then they go down. So it's great as well for you, like showing it as an advert for these clubs and what it means for them down south. In terms of kind of some personal like preferences as well, what's been like a club that's really stuck with you that you go, I really love the setup there and the people there too?
I suppose Steny for being the first one that I ever saw a game at. Steny were great. East Kilbride have always been good to me, like seeing them from Lowland League to where they are now. Kelty as well. Yeah. I feel like, we kind of grew at the same time when my channel was in its infancy. They were coming up through the Lowland League. They went Lowland League with Barry Ferguson. They won that, got promoted. They actually beat Brora in the Highland Lowland, and then they beat Brechin to knock them out of the Football League. So Kelty, they went then up to League Two, won that with Kevin Thompson. Yeah. So they stick out to me. But then some of the grounds that I like are them kind of older ones like Green at Morton's, Capello, or Thistle, Firhill. I love going to Thistle because I've chat to people and I'm like, you're from Glasgow, why do you support Thistle? Yeah. Like my granddad didn't want me supporting the old firm because of all the nonsense. That's actually my brother's reason. He's like, I just don't want to get involved in it. And it's such a more family feel at Thistle. Yeah. And it is passionate and it's got that Glasgow crowd element to it, whereas I think like all the musicians say that Glasgow's the best crowd. And Glasgow's such a great city. People make Glasgow, the famous phrase and stuff. And Thistle has that proper like Glasgow feel. Yeah. As a fan base, but it's also got that like less intimidating feel than what you'd get at like an Old Firm derby, let's say. And even as well, it was gutting obviously not to see them come up because as you say, they are a big club. It would be amazing if they had won that kind of playoff. But in terms of like your moments in the lower leagues and junior, like is there any unique moments for you that stick out that you always remember that you're like, that's Scottish football? Oh mate, there's been so much, just some of the stuff you hear, like some of the stuff that I pick up in the background when I'm filming the pitch. You can't even see who's saying it, but someone will shout something from behind and I've never heard some of the insults I've heard shouted at the lower leagues, and just some of the stuff that like you just hear getting picked up. I could probably do a compilation video of just like Scottish football fans saying I think people would actually love it. I know obviously your demographic it's so funny, the banter younger, that people have.
Mate,
that's some of this, like just some of the banter you hear.
Any specifics?
Probably I can't do the accent, but imagine like a really thick Ayrshire accent. It was at an Irvine Meadow, maybe Talbot game. It was Irvine Meadow against somebody else from Ayrshire, I want to say. But the linesman, you're so close to the linos at those games, made a decision that the fan didn't agree with. And in his proper thick, deep-voiced Ayrshire accent, he said, I'll rip your head off and shit down your neck, you wee dick. And I was just like, that's just so Scottish football. Like to hear that at an Ayrshire derby at that level is just like perfect.
You hear crazy.
That's just one of probably many that I could.
I remember as well. I actually had the worst ever red card that I've ever received. I was playing with Renfrew and it was against Cowannon Rangers. Yeah. And Cowannon Rangers had like put dollops of like sand on the pitch to stop it like waterlogging. But I got the first yellow card because I was on the touchline. I was warming up. But the ball flew out because of the wind and flew back in again. But see, because it flew back in, I then stepped on the pitch and stopped it.
Oh, no.
So
did the ref not realise it went out of play?
No, I didn't. So no one flagged. Obviously, the lino was from Cowannon Rangers, like, so he didn't flag. And then the ref came over and he was like, "You've just stopped the progression of play, like yellow card." I was on the bench and that.
Entering the field of play, I think, without referee's permission is worth a yellow as well.
Yeah, something like that. So got a booking for that. And then the second one was I get subbed on as we were like 20-25 minutes to go. And I went to take the ball past, so the ref obviously thought this guy's at it, like straight away, like my cards are marked to this guy. Course, So then I went to dribble by the defender up in the box, and as I've went, I had new boots on, F50s with a pointed toe, and the pointed toe of my boots has get stuck in a dollop of sand, and I've fit as the worst red card ever. I fell over, and then the ref came over. I went to get straight back up again because I realised I've just fell over here. and he just second yellow red card
diving.
gets sent off for diving.
That was the most stupid red card I've ever heard.
Exactly.
For the first one, stopping the ball from going, oh man.
The worst ever. So then I remember just walking up like in front of that stand that Cohen and Rangers have got, and as you say, the shouts you hear are mental. But
it's crazy, isn't it?
It's what the character of like the juniors has got. That
But everyone
the
shakes
Highlands
hands at
don't.
the end of it. At
Aye,
the end
it's
of it all,
fine.
and it's all like it's all.
It's just
in
pure
jest and
banter
stuff,
at the end of the day. It means so
so
much
good.
to people, and you respect that. And when you hear the shouts and stuff again, as you say, it's just funny.
Some
It's
of
one
it
of
is
those
so
things.
funny. Yeah, some of the people there just they could be comedians. Most of the people.
Yeah, they
I've seen.
genuinely could be. So in terms of like for you, you know, sort of globally as well, what places like have you been to that you've really enjoyed, and what are others that you're still on the list to go and cover games at?
So I've always just got a love for Southeast Asia. Like I say, one-way ticket to Bangkok. I still feel like I'm on that like journey of just wanting to go, just traveling all the time.
Yeah.
So anytime I can, like Southeast Asia for me, like going and watch football in Thailand and Malaysia and Indonesia, they're so passionate and they're so open to the camera. Whereas obviously now in Scotland, people are aware of what I'm doing and like to come up to me and be on the videos, which is great. And I really appreciate that. But in like other countries and even here when I started, it was all a bit like, you know, people are quite reserved in the UK. And I understand that. And I 100% get it that not everyone wants to be on camera. But you whip out a GoPro or you start vlogging on your phone in Asia, when people see that, they'll like come flocking to you and
Really?
they absolutely love it. They want to know what you're doing and they're happy to share it and stuff. So it's like a bit of a different like culture around it, I suppose, over there. But they're so passionate for football. They all like English football. They've all grown up watching the Premier League, but seeing them support like their local team, is kind of mad. When I grew up watching playing Football Manager as a kid, I'd like manage teams in different continents and countries.
Ah, nice one.
So I've always been like interested in football in other places. So seeing it out there is amazing.
Again, Sam, just want to say a massive thank you for coming on today.
Oh,
And
good, mate. They went quick.
yeah, I know it does, doesn't it? But
Yeah,
not
yeah.
only just, you know, coming on, telling us a bit about your background, because not a lot of people know about kind of where everything started before. You know, it was FootyAdventures and it was Sam North. And no, it's been a real pleasure to have you on today and chat away and get your thoughts as well. No lower leagues, you know, you're brilliant for projecting it, but even just things that you think as well would be better. So a huge thank you as well, and a pleasure speaking to you as well today.
Pleasure, mate. Thanks
In
so
fact,
much.
we've got one more thing, nearly forgot. Mystery game days. I've got questions
Okay.
for you as well.
Yeah, go on.
So our partners and sponsors over there, I've got a list of questions to ask every guest.
Okay.
So that's quite good because you've travelled a lot. So the best ground that you have covered at in Europe?
Braga.
Really, yeah?
They've got the stadium that was built into the side of the quarry in the
Oh,
mountain.
cracker.
Behind both goals, they've got like the mountains and they've got the two stands. And it's like an engineering piece of genius because it's the cables that keep the two stands together. There's no, I don't think there's any foundations in the ground. It's like kept these cables and they had to use like dynamite to explode the mountain to be able to like actually build a stadium. So 100%, I always say Braga's my number.
Class. And then the best, well, that kind of covers it, but the best ground that you visited in Europe, probably Braga's.
Braga, Braga,
Yeah.
or any of like the iconic ones. I went to the new camp before they knocked that down and saw Messi play, so that's probably one as well.
Yeah, do you know, we've had, I think our previous two have said the Camp Nou as well and said Barcelona, that's
Yeah, it's iconic.
a favourite. So, and then your dream ground to go and cover that you've not yet?
I'm not sure what the actual stadiums are called, but there's a derby in Indonesia I want to go to.
Nice.
Between Persib Bandung and Persib Jakarta, who I'm
Nice.
sure you're fully aware of both those clubs.
Never heard of them
But
in
the
my
atmosphere
life.
looks insane, right? But it's on
Yeah.
the island of Java, which is the most populated island in the world. I think there's more people on Java, which is, you look at on the map, it's like this in Indonesia. There's more people there than in Russia, which is the world's biggest country.
Wow.
And there's Bandung and Jakarta. Jakarta is the capital of Indonesia, but Bandung is also a big city on that island. And they have this like crazy rivalry, crazy derby. So that's the bucket list game for me.
Class.
But Boca Juniors River Plate is a big one.
Yeah.
That people want to do, and I'd want to do that as well.
I
But
was
for me,
I
I'm
was
more-
in Argentina in August and went to the Bombonera. It's incredible. We just went for a tour, but even when you're there,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
Oh, I need to
that's
go
what, it was
there, yeah.
always the stadium that I would choose on FIFA to play at home at.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, for sure.
And then from your experiences in Europe, what about best atmosphere? And obviously Scotland's an option too, but in terms of a place that you've been to, man.
Atmosphere, any European night at Celtic or Rangers where they win and there's a lot riding on
Yeah.
it is amazing. But Sparta Prague was a good atmosphere. Anywhere with like decent ultras. I'm trying to think any Sporting in Portugal. Portugal's got a good
Yeah, they're
atmosphere, good
passionate.
ultras and stuff. They're pretty passionate out there. I'll probably leave this podcast to be like, there was that one. So
You
I'm
can
trying
always
to think.
text us and we can
Yeah, we
put it
can
in.
like just edit it. Put the badge here now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but class, Sam, thanks again for
mate.
coming on today and really enjoyed speaking to you.
Appreciate it, mate. Thanks.
Cheers, thank you.